Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here, and today we are talking about a report on Tesla and their plans in India. We've also got an update on the Cybertruck, some news on the Model Y, a brand study by Autotrader, the producer price index, and a couple other items as well. Nice day for the stock today, finally participating in a little bit of the rally that we've been seeing in the NASDAQ this week. Tesla up 2.2% to close at $277.90, while the NASDAQ up 1.6%. So maybe not quite to Tesla's beta, but a nice day nonetheless. Tomorrow we should get the rebalancing update for the NASDAQ 100. It's not going to take effect yet, but the redistribution will be disclosed. Not sure if that'll happen before or after market, but we'll keep an eye on that to see how that's going to shake out. All right, let's start off quickly with the PPI or Producer Price Index. Yesterday we had the CPI or Consumer Price Index. Today for the PPI, it comes in below expectations pretty significantly, probably about 20 basis points or so below expectations across various metrics. The headline number looks pretty crazy here, only a 0.1% increase year over year. From the chart, you can see how dramatically that has fallen off over the last year. Core PPI increases continuing to decelerate as well, a 2.4% increase year over year, so not as drastic as the headline number, but starting to stabilize, which is nice to see. And then a quick look at the month-over-month changes, right in the range that you want at 0.1% for both core and headline. So it's looking pretty good if services and housing can kind of rein it in a little bit, which is a little bit supply-driven, ironically partially driven by high interest rates, and many would argue just by the methodology in general. But if those can kind of rein it in, then inflation data seems to be heading into a pretty good spot. And then maybe we're not too far off from deflation concerns starting to rise. As we know, things can be a little bit fickle like that, but we'll see. The next Fed meeting is on July 25th, so about 2 weeks from now. All right, getting into the Tesla news, we've got an update from the Times of India that Tesla is now opening discussions with the Indian government specifically for an investment proposal to set up a car factory in the country with an annual production capacity of as many as 500,000 vehicles and prices starting from below $25,000 US. Their report cites government sources, and they even included a direct quote from one source saying, quote, "Tesla has come to us with an ambitious plan, and we are confident that the movement will be positive this time around, especially as it involves both local manufacturing and exports," end quote. So there definitely seems to be a lot of traction here. Obviously, we've had a lot of rumors about Tesla in India over the last few years, but about 3 weeks ago, Elon met with the Prime Minister. Commentary from both sides was very positive coming out of that meeting. Elon said that they will do something in India. Really, it's just a matter of time figuring it out. And as we have seen for Tesla, that can sometimes be excruciatingly slow, or it can be incredibly fast, with the announcements of both Giga Berlin and Giga Texas pretty much coinciding, showing us how quickly this can happen in multiple locations. And with Tesla now getting ready to move into that next generation lower cost vehicle, it makes a lot of sense for that to be happening at the same time as this relationship and these rumors about India seem to be heating up pretty significantly. Now, we did also get an official comment from an Indian government official today on Tesla, not necessarily on the factory specifically, but this was coming from the Secretary of Revenue from the Ministry of Finance, who said that, quote, "Any duty waiver for Tesla is not under active consideration of the Department of Revenue as of now," end quote. So official commentary still kind of playing hardball, but it also does leave plenty of room for that to change over time, with that little disclaimer thrown in at the end that says as of now. Anyway, fun to see these rumors and some of the posturing, and I'm sure not the last of it that we'll see. Moving on from India, we've got an interesting update from Gregor Truck on Twitter. Apparently Tesla has coloring books at service centers, and one of the pages in the coloring book is a Cybertruck sort of font logo page. And the subheading for the Cybertruck says that the Cybertruck, quote, "has enough battery power to charge a Tesla," end quote, which really isn't all that impressive. I mean, so does a wall outlet. So this could just be in reference to using something like a 240 volt onboard outlet, which, although it would work, would seem like kind of a weird thing to emphasize, especially in a kid's coloring book. Maybe they're just trying to teach them a little bit more about power, but it would seem a little bit more likely that this would be a teaser for something with a little more power, which would imply bidirectional charging, vehicle to home, stuff like that. Hopefully we'll know for sure in the next couple of months. Next, we've got a report on electric vehicle registrations from Kelley Blue Book using data from Experian. This is looking at registrations in the US from January to May. They say that EV market share is up to 7% in that period from last year's 4.6% during the same period. So some nice growth there, but largely driven by the Model Y, which they say registrations for are up 103% year over year. So we know how well the Model Y has been doing, and I think if we go back to that period last year, there may have still been some exporting happening from Fremont, which would have kept numbers down in the US a little bit, especially if you're excluding June from that period, since that would have had an end of quarter push. So I can't remember fully on that timeline of when exports really started to happen from Shanghai entirely, but may have been a factor, and similar things may cause some differences for the S and the X here. They say X grew 7% year over year, but Model S dropped 59%. I think some of that just due to weakness, but also probably due to exporting that happened here in this year's Q2 that wouldn't have happened last year. At any rate, generating some nice headlines for the Model Y. As for Tesla, also some nice headlines coming from an Autotrader report on automotive brands. They attempted to answer the question of what cars the world wants to buy. So they say number 1 is the Volkswagen Golf, number 2 BMW 3 Series, number 3 Mercedes-Benz C-Class. Actual sales don't necessarily seem to reflect that, and if we look a little bit closer, Autotrader says that this data is coming from the amount of advertising clicks on the Autotrader website for the last 12 months, and that's specifically in the UK. So I don't know if these are Autotrader run ads where maybe a Tesla could pop into those, or if the OEM itself has any role in that advertisement, which would immediately disqualify Tesla from ranking here. I'm not exactly clear on that, but if we continue through the report, they also take a look at which brands each country in the world wants to buy the most according to their research, which for this section seems to be looking only at search interest for some specific terms around these brands. So it's very much imperfect, but still interesting, and we can see a lot of Tesla on here, particularly in North America, Western Europe, China, and Australia. Some good spots to be ranking first in. Autotrader says Tesla came out as the car brand people are looking to buy the most across the world, topping the tables as the most Googled car for sale in 39 countries. They also say that Tesla was tops in 25 states in the US, pretty much evenly splitting with Jeep, with Tesla taking the coasts and Jeep taking most of the central United States. But what I actually like the most about this graphic is that they have actually mixed up Wisconsin and Minnesota, but this is Autotrader UK, so we'll give them a pass on that one. Alright, last few things for today. As we talked about with the unveiling or launch of XAI yesterday, they're supposed to hold a Twitter space tomorrow or Friday. We now have a time for that. It's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern time, so right at market close, and at the end of the week, so always interesting timing. I don't really expect any major announcements out of that. Anything with Tesla could be Dojo related, something like that, but we're probably not quite there for that to make much of a difference yet. We'll see, but either way should be a very interesting Twitter space. We can also add to our calendars on July 25th, alongside the Fed meeting, a new interview from Elon Musk. This will be at the PG&E Innovation Summit, where Elon has been announced as a keynote speaker. And then lastly for today, a little bit outside of the scope here, but a very interesting update on Twitter today. Twitter has started to pay creators on Twitter a portion of the ad revenue that Twitter is generating. So this has never happened before. It does create a lot more incentive for creators on Twitter to be active and engaging. It's a pretty big deal, and I'm sure very much in the early stages of what it will eventually become, but without a doubt, very much marks an inflection point for Twitter today. So fun to see the continued progress there, but that'll wrap it up for today. So as always, thank you for listening. Make sure you're subscribed and signed up for notifications. You can also find me on Twitter at Tesla Podcast, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Friday, July 14th episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.